Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the NH Experience. And today's guest is the beautiful, the talented, the great person that she is. She's a Southern California native. She's a graduate of USC. She's at every LA sporting event. I mean, you can't miss her. She's all over the place. She's graced the airwaves of ABC 7 and one time KNBC Channel 4 here in Los Angeles. And we have the honor of having the one and only Alysha Del Valle. What's going on, Alysha? How you doing?
Well, hello, Nick. Thank you for having me. And thank you for reading my intro exactly like I wrote it. I appreciate that.
Anytime. I'm telling you that public school education paid off.
Right. Bravo.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey. You grew up in Southern California.
Yes.
You went to USC.
Uh,
Fight on to the trophy. um, at what point did you feel like journalism or the media aspect of things that you wanted to delve into and be a part of that genre?
Honestly, since I was a little girl. Um, and that's really important for me. When I was a little girl, nobody looked like me on the news. And my parents have watched the news from the moment we woke up to the moment we went to bed my whole life. They are newsy junkies. And they watched Channel 7, again, born and raised in LA. And when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an anchor. I just thought anchors, they seemed so smart and poised and confident, and they had big hair, and I love big hair. Give me some Dolly Parton big hair.
Okay.
And they just were so glamorous on television. And as a little girl, I said I want to do that, and I met a lot of resistance throughout my whole life. I've been told, like, no, not for you. No one ever was straight out like, come on, look where you're from or your last name or anything like that, but it was understood nobody like us does those kind of jobs, and here I am.
Well, you know what? That's amazing. I mean, you graduated from USC, which is not an easy accomplishment to have for anybody.
Thank
Um,
you.
and then how are you? So you're going through the ranks. Obviously, you're paying your dues. You're going through the ranks of dealing with the I like to call it the jungle gym of media, where you have to intern, you have to go through working at various stations, not getting paid the amount that you feel that you're worth, but you're still putting in that time. You're still networking, and also you're a mother too.
Hmm.
Uh, so how are you able to balance, motherhood and then your career at the same time and still be successful on both ends?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, so it goes back to, I didn't have a support system per se. I mean, my mom and dad have always told me, you're going to college. And I'm the first one in my family to go to college. So that was
Nice.
understood, but there wasn't anyone in our family who kind of could take me through what it takes. And then, for a while I was a knucklehead and kept, and just, I got into trouble. And my parents sent me to Catholic school, Catholic high school. Shout out to St. Paul. I'm a swordsman.
Okay.
And they sent me there actually to make sure that someone was, my parents had to work. They worked their whole lives. I've been working since I was 13. That's what we do. But Catholic school worked. I stopped being in trouble so much, went back to sports and cheerleading. But I had my daughter young and unwed. So that put a
Mhm.
huge clink, in my chain of,
What you trying to
and
accomplish?
right. But she is the greatest gift to me. And she helped me work even harder. And especially when people told me, I mean, I actually thought, I'm lucky if I finish school, but I'm going to do it. And it took longer because I had my child so young, and it was more difficult, but I appreciate everything that I went through, and I don't take it for granted. And my parents were a huge help, and my sister, my cousins. I mean, I'm very lucky for my large extended family. Um, and I went to junior college first. Shout out Rio Hondo. And
Okay.
right, in Whittier. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I went to El Camino, so you know where all if you grew up in Southern California,
Yeah.
you know where all the JCs are.
No, I am a big proponent of JCs and community colleges. I saved a bunch of money. I wasn't going to get into USC as a freshman. Well, I shouldn't be negative, but it wasn't. The odds were I was not going to. and
Right.
And so I did it my way. And I went in as a junior. I got a partial scholarship, and I worked my butt off, and I just became the best student. I just wanted to just get paid, because like you mentioned earlier, between the interning and driving here and there. And, one of my first interviews was with Dave Chappelle in Melrose, or on Melrose.
Wow.
And I was hosting this show called LA Odds and Ends at USC through their channel. If I could get my hands on that video, but I just realized like this is worth it. Like I'm okay at it. I can do this, So even though I'm not getting paid right now, and how do we know Dave Chappelle would grow to be Dave Chappelle? But
the legend himself.
Yeah. Oh, big fan. And believing in yourself and having that, my parents always believed in me. Once they saw that I was serious, they got behind me. And even though people told me you would never go to USC, how can you afford USC? I even had a teacher tell me, you're cute. You're going to get married. You're going to be fine. Like, stop with the big dreams. She didn't say big dreams, but when I told her what I wanted to do, she said, stop. Same thing. Yeah. Right. So it's been hard, but it's been worth it.
So I want to ask you, how did you get to ABC7? What was that journey for you like? How were you able to get, because it's not easy for any of us, whether especially homegrown talent, to get on a homegrown network like ABC7 at that time.
Okay. So that's one of my favorite memories. The business, they tell you, well, especially for television, the formula is you go to broadcasting school, you go to a small market, you pay your dues, you work your way back. Being a young single mother, I did not have that luxury. I wasn't going to take myself to Kalamazoo or Fresno or, wherever. I didn't want to leave my family. I needed their help. You know what I'm talking about. When you have a child, that built-in babysitting is golden.
Absolutely.
Love my mom and dad, and my sister. So I just hustled, and I really believed I was manifesting before I knew what manifesting was. I was praying, I was visualizing, and this is before Instagram and memes and all that good stuff. I really would just focus and visualize, where do I want to be? And that was Channel 7. And I mean, think about it. ABC7 back then, this is what, 13, 14, 15 years ago. That was the franchise station in Southern California. Yeah. It still could be. I'm just saying that's what it was when that was my goal. Plus, my parents watched Channel 7. I wanted them to see me, and I wanted all the haters to see me.
Look at me.
Yeah. So one of the things I say to young people I speak with, I say, you'll never forget volunteering and working out. They're both so good for you, and they both make you feel so good. I was volunteering at a conference in Pasadena at PCC, Adelante Mujeres, and an executive from ABC was there. She heard me speak. She saw me interact with these young girls, and the rest is history. She walks up to me, she holds my hands, and she says, "Dear, why aren't you working for us?" And I'm like, "Who are you?"
That's a question for you, not for me.
And boom, within a year, and now don't get me wrong, I was working at a radio station, like on a morning show, working at a cable show in the evening called LATV and CTV, and still like bartending 2 days a week to like pay bills. And my daughter, who's a great student, and I had to be there too. So it was a lot of juggling, but it's always worth it, because at least you say you tried. If you can't make it if you don't try, right? So I'm still trying. I'm not done yet.
Next question I want to ask you was, you did great stuff at ABC7. We would see you out doing the food drives every holiday season. You guys would be doing the toy drives. I think that's the first time we'd actually met at an Albertsons. Yeah.
That food drive. Honestly, I know families. It's a huge tradition at ABC, the toy drive. Started way before I got there, but the food drive was super special to me. I miss that so much. And you're right, that's where we met. That's crazy.
Yep.
Those were some long days. I was putting in like 16-hour days. It was during the summer, because that's when children are sadly at their hungriest, because they're not getting meals in schools. Since then, schools have come like they've come a long way with acknowledging, oh, we got to do something, while they're not in school. And now everything's changed with COVID. But back then, the food drives were my baby. I miss those very much.
No, you did an excellent job. And then,
Thank
so
you.
obviously you moved on to KNBC4. What was it about KNBC4 at the time that allowed you to move on and say, okay, I can do, now I'm on another station, still in Los Angeles? Because to me, that is remarkable to be on 2 LA, premier networks and still be able to do what you need to do and still be yourself.
Well, thank you. That is super kind. And I wanted to, honestly, I didn't think I would ever leave ABC. I was very naive. I've never had an agent. And when they say, oh, we're going to take care of you, sign here, I did. And that's a lesson to everybody. Don't sign anything until you have somebody look at it. Now, I'm not saying they were out to get me or cheat me, but
right.
We definitely need to be better about advocating for ourselves, knowing our worth. That's huge for me now. I wish I had known. It was just time. I did not go to USC to be a traffic anchor, but don't get me wrong. Traffic is so, being from here, it runs our lives, right? It runs our lives. Everything revolves around traffic. How long is it going to take me to get there? Is it worth traffic? Is it worth parking? Is it like all of that matters? So it's been an awesome ride. And honestly, NBC lured me away. Nobody really leaves ABC. They choose not to renew your contract. But I was told this is going to be even better. And I had such a great run at ABC. And but that is really the only newsroom on air, at least, that I know. And so have somebody look at what you sign, because I did the same thing at NBC.
Hey, you know what? But I noticed you took an upgrade, as it were, because not only were you doing traffic in the mornings on the NBC morning show, but you were also doing the challenge with Petros Papadakis and Fred Rogan,
Yes.
which was great to see the balance with two guys and a female doing sports, talking about sports, engaging with the audience, things of that nature. How fun was that experience for you?
It was so fun. And you said it yourself. You answered the question for me. Thank you, Nick. They promised me sports. They promised me more. I had a little bit at ABC where I was doing the Saturday Night Rams show.
Okay.
And for reasons I can't talk about, had nothing to do with me, but I was no longer doing it. And that really set off alarm. Like I may have to leave. And so here we are now. I'm at NBC, and they were promising me, you're going to go to spring training. You're going to go to the World Series. When the Rams go to the Super Bowl, you're going to go, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And most of it came true. So I had a great, mornings. I've done morning radio, morning television. It just seemed natural to keep doing traffic. And plus the community, I'm such a homer. What is it? John Ireland. It's his phrase, but I use it all the time. I am a shameless homer. And when I meet people, they are so gracious and so kind and tell me, I watch just for you. I want to see if I have to take a different freeway. But other people will tell me, like women will be like, I just watch to see what you're wearing. Where did you get that dress? And then other people will say, I don't even drive very far for work, but I just want to hear your knowledge of the community, the way you use Tommy's or In-N-Out or Dodger Stadium. Like I know my landmark. I'm not faking it. I'm from here. And most people that work in Los Angeles news are not from here. So I really treasure those relationships. Basically, Nick, people invite us into their living rooms, into their bedrooms, watching the news. And I don't take that for granted at all. So it seemed like a good fit. Yeah, it was a good time.
Absolutely. So obviously we're going through a lot of dealing with COVID, dealing with, social climate change as far as racism, injustice, oppression, things of that nature. But from your perspective, how important is Latino media, you being not only just a Latina, but a woman at that, and the woman in the business has been around for quite a while? How important is that
I take it very seriously. And from the first question you ever asked me, why or how long did you know you wanted to do this?
Mm-hmm.
I can see now that it was very important to me. I mean, you're a little girl. I didn't know that was going to be the calling that kept me going. I didn't really change career paths. I didn't want to be a veterinarian or a nurse or a teacher. Although if I could go back, I might want to be a travel writer, but I didn't even know that job existed.
Who knew?
But seriously, since so many people told me no through the process of getting on air on Channel 7, it really became a thing. It became sort of a chip on my shoulder where I was like, well, why not? Why not somebody that looks like me, talks like me, sounds like me, has the same last names like me? Why should they not be able to watch somebody from their community? Super important. And it's not just that I'm from LA. Latina representation, Chicana representation is super important. Now, working in news is a little tricky, and you know what I'm about to say. I am beholden to the network. I can't talk about politics the way I'd like to.
Right.
I can be compassionate, and I'm involved with many causes, but when it comes to politics, I have been muzzled for a very long time. Everybody, not just me, everybody in news is supposed to be, unless you're in the editorial business, which I'm not. So things are changing now. And I really believe for the better. This is a revolution, and I'm very excited. And there's no denying our presence. We're not going anywhere.
I say the same thing about Black media. When we look at what has transpired, not just this year, and unfortunately, the number of names that people that we know that have gone viral that have been murdered by the hands of the police, folks in Chicago that continue to deal with crime as a proximity of their community, unfortunately, due to socioeconomic conditions. Just everywhere that people don't get a chance to make it viral. And I want to get your perspective on this as well, since we're talking about it. How important do you see Black media in not only today's climate, but just all around?
Well, it is super important. I'm going to take it a step further. I really wish that we were more united in the things that have to happen for injustices to be acknowledged and to be fixed. Now, I will start with this because I don't want anybody coming after me. I love my country, but in no way am I love it or leave it. I can't stand that. I love it so much, I want to fix it. Okay, I want to acknowledge the dirty sins that this country is built on. And so there's a lot of unity between Black and brown communities, and we need to see more of that. And absolutely. I cringe when I see videos of young people from one community attacking another group from one of our communities, because I don't want that chasm. I don't want it to be split. It's already, it's fragile. Yeah. And there are forces that would love to see us divided. So absolutely, the Black community, the Black media is important, but any injustice anywhere is an injustice to all of us, right? So I champion, look at Asian Americans right now being attacked because of what's happening with the pandemic. I mean, the roaches have been unleashed. The racists have gone crazy. So I will try to focus on the positive. And this is what I tell my parents. I said, at least now, more and more people, we get to see their true colors, and we know what we're dealing with versus some of that underhanded backdoor policy. I've been told my accent would keep me from being on Los Angeles television, because the two markets you want to be in, New York and LA. And I'm like, I'm from here. What do you mean my accent? So these are all important things, and that's representation is so important to me. And I just really want communities that have been disenfranchised. Education is very important to me, and leveling the playing field for children. I'm about prevention and media representation is huge for me. I'm actually working on something I hope pretty big on bringing some women of color together to tell our stories and to encourage young women to tell theirs as well, because we've been put in boxes for a very long time. And I can't say too much about the media, but the people running things, I just think there should be more diversity and more inclusion, especially in a big city like Los Angeles. We need people from here, people who have been south of the 110 and east of the 110, who've heard of West Covina. We need people like that running local news and local radio and local sports radio. I mean, yeah, I could go on and on, but I don't want to get in trouble. So to answer your question, it's very important. Very.
Absolutely. Last thing before I let you get on out of here. I see you all the time. You always, posting everything about George Lopez. I think he's a fantastic comedian. I think he's done a lot of things for his community. Very funny guy. I mean, does a lot with his golf tournament every year. I was fortunate to go to 2 golf tournaments that he did. How did you guys forge that relationship? And what does that mean to you to have somebody like a George Lopez just in your life to cultivate, that friendship and that bond?
George is super special. George is family. He's like my godfather. I'll start at the beginning. We met when I worked for him. I was one of his radio producers. Now, not a lot of people know that, but he used to have a morning radio show. And just as things were starting to pick up and he was catching some, because radio is tough here. That's why they keep, I'm going to zip it. Local radio should have at least one person on staff locally, right? Okay, so I got to work with him, and he's just one of the best bosses I've ever worked for. And I've worked for some great ones. Rick Dees, Ryan Seacrest. Now I've worked with Fred Rogan and Petros. I've really worked with some great people. Leslie Sykes, Philip Palmer, 2 of my favorite employees of all time. Just genuine people who work hard. That is George Lopez. He is the hardest working man. He's always writing, always creating, always taking meetings, and always trying to help his friends. He hates seeing his friends suffer. And talk about authentic. No matter how big he gets, no matter how many restaurants or chains Netflix specials, no matter how many he does, he is still always going to have that big old heart of his. And we just want him to stay safe right now because, he only has 1 kidney. His health could be compromised, and we just want everybody to be safe. So I'm glad that he's been telling more and more people, like, take this seriously, because I'm one of them. I thought, well, I'll just wash my hands and wear my mask. But no, you have to be diligent about spacing. And he's just a wonderful person, one of my favorite humans in the world. He's so great to my family. And he's giving me some great advice. And I'm going through some stuff right now that I told you about. And he's the first person I called because he's been in this business and more successful at it than most people we know. And when he says, oh, you're not done yet. No, mija, like, you got this. Don't worry. We got your back, sis. And that, it just took a lot of pressure I had put on myself by speaking with George. He's a good man. Love G-Lo. G-Lo.
That's phenomenal. Let everybody know where they can continue to follow you and keep up with all of your work and what's to come next.
Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me. These are crazy times right now. And you and I, all of us, we really need to keep telling our stories. I know we can't just go away, even though the mediums have changed, right? We just got to pivot like everyone else and we'll be fine. I know you got this. So thank you once again for having me. My name, Alysha Del Valle, is where you find me at Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're in the middle of changing it, but I am Alysha NBC LA. If you just type me in, you should be able to find me. And as soon as I get this changed, the Facebook page legally, I will post that on my Twitter and Instagram so you can find me if Facebook is your favorite. I try to TikTok. It's just, I think I'm too old. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't rock with TikTok. TikTok ain't rocking with the Black movement, so I can't rock with TikTok no more.
Really? Oh,
They won't post Black Lives Matter or they won't post anything like that. I'm cool.
Okay, we got to talk after this. You need to give me the scoop.
Much,
See,
much.
I'm on a few days and look. Okay, you got to tell me, please.
Oh yeah,
And
we'll talk off. We'll talk off here for sure, for sure.
alrighty, thank
But
you.
thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience. Um, Again, good luck to what you have going on in the future. I'm looking forward to seeing some big things from you as usual. No difference, and I'm sure you'll be on somewhere and making a huge impact as you normally do anyway. So thank you so much, the one and only Alysha Del Valle, and make sure you keep up with her. Appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll definitely talk to you soon.
Thank you. Be safe. Abrazo. Stay safe.